I blog at mommyniri.com. I'm actually originally from South Africa, but I now live in Boston. And the wonderful team at Evo, Rachel and Jill, wanted me to share moments that impacted me and my whole life. And it was hard choosing a few moments, but I'm going to try to share them with you and take you along with my journey. So one of the earliest moments that I could remember was a time when I was 10, but I'm just going to set the scene a little because, you know, just so you understand, I grew up in South Africa. I grew up with having lots of financial issues in our homes and poverty. In fact, when I was born, my sisters were actually looking for food in trash cans and things like that, and my mom actually had to give me away for a few months because she couldn't take care of me. So that's just a scene and not about this. I couldn't remember that was told to me, but my first impactful moment was one day I heard an ice cream truck going down the road, and I said, "Mom, can we have some ice cream? Can we buy some?" And, you know, I don't know why I asked her because we never bought ice cream from the ice cream truck, but she looked at me and she said, "Honey, I'm sorry, I don't have any money." And I geared myself all up for, you know, a big whining fit to say, "How could you?" and things like that, but I just looked at her and I realized she really didn't have any money. So I thought at that moment, I could just make a big fit, I could scream, or I could realize that I'm going to get my own money. And I'm going to do it myself. So I thought I'm going to make something like a popsicle, but I didn't have juice. So I had some food coloring and some sugar. It's not great, but, you know, it sold, and I made money. Some money, but, you know, and that's been my purpose of blogging as well. You can whine, you can complain, things don't work your way, or you can just go in and get it done. Now I just have to give that message to my little kids about the whining not working. Another moment is in 1985, I remember some neighbors come up and tell me that you need to evacuate. They're burning homes in the area. This was in South Africa, and there was riots all over, so we had to evacuate. And I was busy doing homework, so I didn't have my shoes on. And I remember my whole family and another family get inside a really small Renault. And if any of you know a Renault, it's really small. So I have no idea how we got in, but I remember trying to get out of there and evacuate the area. And I remember the barricades out there. I have no idea how we got out, but we did. And it was the last time I ever saw my home. And the entire town was burnt down. It was all burnt in riots. And my dad did go back just with the army to take some pictures. And these are actually some of the pictures of my home and of some of the neighboring homes. The one thing that I learned about it, before I go there, the other thing that was also burnt down was I attended a school that was called the Kasturba Gandhi School. And actually that school was built by Mahatma Gandhi. And if any of you know the story of Gandhi, you know about the Phoenix settlement. Well, I actually went to school there. And that school was actually burned down in the fire. So we were the last people to see it. So a lot of history, that school was built, and the entire Phoenix settlement and the press, the whole Satyagraha press and all of that was built in 1904, and all of it was burned to the ground. So a lot of history went down at the time. But what I learned was something a little different. I learned that you don't just judge things. That riots was actually done during the whole political turmoil time, by blacks who went around burning the homes of Indians, and they burnt it because they thought, or they were told that Indians are now taking land from you. And it built a lot of resentment in Indians, like, you burnt our land, you burnt our homes, we hate you. But when you learn the story, then you learn it was the white racist regime that built this whole propaganda, because they heard that now Indians and blacks are living together in harmony, and we can't have that unity because it's going to rock apartheid. So they spread this word around, and so out of fear, some of the blacks did go around burning home. So you could either listen to what everyone says, or you can realize that there's sometimes a story behind it. The other thing that I learned from that was, it's just a house. it's really just a house. You know, in my home, if you get there, you'll see that I don't take a lot of pride in all the material stuff because, you know, everything goes like that. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You're not going to take it with you. I remember my mom collecting all these little Tupperwares and things like that and sealed under our beds, kept for us, but one day when we grow up, they'll take this when we marry or something, and burn to the ground. So it just doesn't matter. You have something, use it, live life. And that was an important lesson that I learned. Another moment for me was when I was in metric, and which is, I think, grade 12 here. And if you know that that's the most important year, especially when you grow up in poverty. Education is your ticket out of it. And I knew that, and I was very focused. This is what I'm going to do. I'm very studious. I never, you know, bunked school a day in my life. I made up for it in college. I just didn't bunk. I wanted out. I just wanted out of that life. I wanted to make my own. So at that time, Indians were allowed to vote because of all the work that Gandhi had done, but blacks were not allowed to vote. So it was a tricameral system. So many Indians actually rebelled against that, and they refused to vote because everyone could not vote. And of course, we were young kids, and we realized that this apartheid system is nonsense. So we rebelled against it, and we decided we're not going to take part in it. Well, we couldn't vote, but we didn't want our school to be a voting ground. And the big moment for me was to either boycott that day or to actually write the exam to get out of poverty. And I thought, my heart says I really cannot allow this atrocity, but I realized that if I didn't write that exam, I was jeopardizing my future. So I asked them, like, if I don't write it, will we get, retake, or will they have to get this? Well, if enough people, a lot of people, everyone does it, then maybe. But if you step down, and if there's enough in here, you forfeit your chance. I looked and I thought about it, and I knew my mom would kill me for taking that decision, but I went down, and I sang, and I did my boycott, and I felt great. I felt like I was doing the right thing. It just felt so good. You know, it felt really good because they did postpone the exams. So, sometimes when you follow your heart, everything else just falls into place. The last moment that I'm going to speak about is something that happened, it's about this year. My oldest daughter, she's 5, she was diagnosed with autism. And in blogging, I thought about, do I talk about it, do I not talk about it? It's her life, it's our life, am I revealing too much? So I wasn't sure how much of it am I revealing and how much of it I'm sharing with the world and how much of it to share with everyone and going over it. So what I did was, I was reviewing a book on autism, a kiddie book, and my daughter read it and she was like, Mama, this is just like me, this is just like me. And I realized that I have a voice. I don't have to make my daughter a guinea pig or a little prep model for it, but I have a voice. So I am using that, and I'm actually hosting an event where I'm bringing people, I'm bringing many sponsors off, where I can get these books, and I'm making packets of these books to educate kids, because everybody worries about educating parents of autistic kids. Nobody educates their peers. So when everybody wonders why my kid doesn't look in their eyes, nobody ever talks about that. So that is my mission about how I'm going to be using social media.